Yo, 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 welcome everybody. So I kind of wanted to give you a brief overview on what you need to do for Codecademy so you can kind of start working on it and getting through it. So this is kind of your breakdown of your screen. So once you get into Python syntax, and if you don't remember how to get to Python syntax, please go through 1A to sign up for Codecademy, and it'll tell you how to get exactly to my course. But you should be going if you don't know how to do this at this point and you can't find it. Just make sure that you click on My Home, and then you will see my courses, and then you should see Python syntax. Okay, once you go into Python syntax, it'll bring you into here. So this is the first exercise. Your navigation's down here, so make sure that you get through all 14 of these exercises. If you're just starting today, then you're going to have time to finish up in class, but you need to definitely work on it. So the information here is in the white part. So if programming is the act of teaching a computer how to have a conversation with the user, it would be most important or most useful to teach a computer how to speak. In Python, this is accomplished with the print statement. Okay, so here in the black are examples. Now what it's not asking you to do is type this out. This is just an example. A print statement is the easiest way for you to get your Python program to communicate with you. Being able to command this communication will be one of the most valuable tools in your programming toolbox. Now, instructions are here. Using a print statement, output a message of your choosing to the terminal. Okay? So, at this point, all you know is you can have to say print. So that's the first thing we're going to do is we're going to type out print, and then there's a space, and then it looks like there's quotation marks, and then we type out a message of our choosing. So I don't have to type out hello world. I can type out my name is Mr. Lane. You could literally type hi if you want to. It does not matter to me. When you hit run, notice that it shows up over here. So whatever you print will show up over here. Okay? Once that happens, you're going to move on to the next exercise. There are two different Python versions. Both Python 2 and Python 3 are used throughout the globe. The most significant differences between the two is how you write a print statement. In Python 3, print has parentheses. Okay? This is more what I want you to do, alright? So this is probably going to be blank because I've already done this, and it says print something using Python 3 syntax. Syntax really means here is your parentheses and your quotation marks. So I'm going to add parentheses, quotation marks, and say hello, okay? When I run it, it will show up over here. Make sure that you remember to do parentheses more often than not because we will be using this style when we type and code in Pythonista on your iPad. Okay, once that's done, we click next. Now, strings. So this is important because you need to understand what a string is, because strings are one of the most important things in coding, because that is how we message to people. That is how the computer talks to people. So you got to understand what it is. So when printing things in Python, we are supplying a text block that we want to be printed. In Python, or text in Python, is considered a specific data type called a string. A string, so named because they're a series of letters, numbers, or symbols connected in order, as if threaded together by a string. Strings can be defined in different ways. So here's your examples. Print, this is a good string. Notice you have two quotation mark sets. Print, you can use single quotes or double quotes for a string. Notice these are single quotes, okay? My recommendation is to practice using double because that is what you will see more, but really it's up to you. Above, we printed two things that are strings and then attempted to print two things that are not strings. While double quotes and single quotes are both acceptable ways to define a string needs to be opened and closed by the same type of quote mark. We can combine multiple strings with a plus sign like this. Print, this is a good string, okay? Notice that they're two separate strings. This plus sign is adding them together, and then it will print out this is a good string, okay? Now, instructions here are try adding your name to the print statement with the plus operator so that this Python program prints hello, your name. Okay, so we're going to use this as our example. Pretend that this is the same thing as hello. What you now need to do is you need to add the plus sign right after this, just like in the example, and then you're going to add your name. Okay, so I'm going to make another string, and I'm going to add my name. Okay. When I run it, it's going to say, hello, Steve. Now, just for your knowledge, you have to program in the spaces. Let's just say you were making a new program and you forgot the space. When you run it, notice it puts it all together. So please remember, when you are programming strings, you are also programming what spaces are going to be in between each words. Okay? Then when you hit next, and this is the final one I'm going to go over. Okay? Now the rest of them I want you to kind of go over and try your best with. If you get stuck, please email me a screenshot of what you are stuck in, and I will help you the best I can. As we get more familiar with the Python programming language, we run into errors and exceptions. These are complaints that Python makes when it doesn't understand what it wants to do. Everyone runs into these issues, so it's a good habit to read and understand them. Here are some common errors that we might run into when printing strings. Print. Mismatched quotes will cause a syntax error. Okay? And then print without the quotes will cause a name error. If the quotes are mismatched, Python will notice this and inform you that your code has an error in its syntax because of the line ended, called EOL, before the double quote that was supposed to close up the string appeared. The program will abruptly stop running with the following message: syntax error. EOL while scanning a string literal. This means that a string wasn't closed, or wasn't closed with the same quote character that it started with. Another issue you might run into is attempting to create a string without quotes at all. Python treats words not in quotes as commands, like the print statement. If it fails to recognize these words as defined in Python or by your program elsewhere, Python will complain the code has a name error. This means Python found what it thinks is a command but doesn't know what it means because it's not defined anywhere. Okay, so we've written two print statements, you got to fix them. So best way to do it is run them, and that is not correct because I've already fixed them, so we're going to reset. And now we can run it and we'll get an error. Okay, so line 1. So notice that all errors are telling you where to go. Line 1, syntax error, EOL while scanning string literal. It just told us that this means that the string wasn't closed or wasn't closed by the same quote character type. So we look at line 1, we notice that we have 2, and then we notice we have a 1 here. Okay? You need to change it to make sure that they match. So I'm going to do it here. I'm going to add the double quote. I'm going to run it, and now the error moves to line 2, and it says syntax error, invalid syntax. Okay? And it's saying that you take away its chair. Well, obviously, we're trying to print something, and we're noticing that it doesn't have quotation marks. Now, when you try to add quotation marks like this, it gives 2. So you're going to have to move over and get rid of one of them, and then you're going to add it over here like this, and you're going to run it, and it'll print out the 2 messages, and you move on to the next one. Okay? Variables are also important, so I'm not going to go through and read this. I'd like you to read this, but this is how you kind of do it. Remember, when it says create a variable called today's date, a variable means that you are writing the name of something, and then you're writing the equal sign, okay? This is what constitutes a variable. What comes after it is what you are assigning to the variable. In this case, you are assigning a string of the date, okay? So obviously this is not today's date. This will more match today's date of 3/15, okay? So this would be actually today's date. So variable is name and an equal sign. What comes after is what you're assigning it to, okay? Now, in this case, when you run it, it will not show up here because you are not printing it. If you wanted it to show up, you actually have to print today's date, and then it'll show up. Whatever is inside this variable will show up here, okay? So go through this, try your best, ask me questions if you need it. Have a great day. Bye-bye.